Allahu Akbar.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam wa Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsan ila yawmiddin. Alhamdulillah alladhi hadana li hadha wa ma kunna linahtadi lawla an hadana Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'd like to welcome you all to another session from commentary on the 40 Hadith of Imam Al-Nawawi rahimahullah, and we are now on Hadith number 15, which is on the topic of essential mannerisms through speech and courtesy. So we're going to inshallah start with the recitation of the hadith. An Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليقل خيرا أو ليصمت ومن كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليكرم جاره ومن كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فَلْيُكْرِمْ ضَيْفَ رواه البخاري ومسلم. Narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Let one who believes in Allah and the last day speak good or be silent, and let one who believes in Allah and the last day honor his neighbor, and let one who believes in Allah and the last day honor his guest." And this is in the Sahihain, muttafaqun alayh. Muqaddimah. So this hadith is actually a foundation for adab, or good character or mannerisms. Okay. So again, like the previous two hadith, this hadith goes in sync, and in a stepwise fashion we're going forward in terms of now improving our mannerisms and improving the social etiquette between ourselves. Okay. The previous hadith, yes, it was on the exemplary punishments, but much of that was also a foundation for society, okay, for the Muslim society. So here this hadith connects our link with Allah to that of His creation. The vertical relationship is huququllah, to fulfill the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with our Creator. But we also have the horizontal relationship, which is huququl ibad, which is making sure we also fulfill the rights of our brethren, of those who are around us, the horizontal relationship. Okay. So we have the vertical relationship, and we also have the horizontal relationship. And when we started the collection, looked at the first few hadith, they were on the relate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, relate to ibadah. So now we're seeing now a horizontal trend in terms of our Islam now, in terms of how we conduct ourselves, our mu'amalat with each other as well. To huququllah and huququl ibad. And this hadith also contains rulings concerning the tongue and also the behavior of Muslims towards others again. It emphasizes that we are responsible for whatever we say. Imam Haytami, a famous muhaddith and faqih of the Shafi school, who died 974 after Hijri, points out this hadith is very similar in meaning to hadith number 13, which says, "None of you truly believe until he loves for his brother that which he loves for himself." So a lot of parallels in this hadith. Imam Haytami also says that everyone is a neighbor to someone else. So therefore, if this hadith is practiced properly and also applied, then there will be a stronger bond and love within society. Remember, a neighbor can mean anyone, Muslim or non-Muslim. So in this hadith, good mannerisms are now extended to a broader group of people, including our fellow non-Muslims who reside nearby. So this is a very important and essential da'wah tool. Lessons or duruus. Okay. So Rasul said, starts this hadith off by saying, "Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir." Very important introduction to gain the attention of the Muslims, that whoever believes in Allah and the last day, فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا أَوْ لِيَصْمُتْ. Okay. Then let him Okay, let him speak good or keep silent. A very nice principle which is laid out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala So in Surah Nisa, ayah 114, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no good is there in much of their private conversation, except for those who enjoin charity or that which is right or conciliation between people. And whoever does that, seeking means to the approval of Allah, then we are going to give him a great reward. So, thus, good speech is of three categories from this ayah of the Quran. Number one, ordering sadaqah or charity. Number two, ordering the ma'aruf, which is basically enjoining good and prohibiting the evil. And also, this encompasses everything from the obligations and recommended acts in the Sharia. Also, dhikrullah and the Quran, which are the two best things you can say. And also, dua, and also prohibiting those which are forbidden, teaching the people, promoting the deen. And number three, which is very important, also ordering peace between the people or nasiha. Okay. So to indulge in allowable speech can actually lead to speech which is haram or makruh. That's the point. This is because to control the tongue can be the hardest thing for a person to do. And that's one main principle behind this hadith. And there are many ways in which we can say good things. The best of these are the following: dhikrullah, the remembrance of Allah. Okay. And also the recitation of the Quran. Okay. Furthermore, there are many sunan and ibadat which assist us in saying that which is good and restrain us from uttering evil. So whenever we speak to another person, regardless of whether they are strangers, friends, relatives, or neighbors, we should use the best words and terms. This is basically فَلْيَكُنْ خَيْرٌ. So even when we do not intend to say something bad, we should also be very careful with our tongues. Talk which has little or no benefit should be avoided. We have to try to be as clear as possible as well in our speech, again, to avoid harm. And on the other hand, as a listener also, we have to interpret that which is said in a positive and good way. We cannot have a negative opinion. The Prophet ﷺ says in an authentic hadith which is narrated in the Sahihain, he says, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالظَّنَّ فَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ أَكْتَبُ الْحَدِيثِ. Be wary of suspicion, for indeed suspicion is the most lying of speech. Okay. So we should not overinterpret what we hear or read between the lines. By doing this, we actually are increasing disputes and conflicts from our end. Thinking the best of what is heard helps us in also elevating our character and avoiding suspicion, bias, and negativity. So this only helps us in terms of keeping our heart nice and clean, right? Not having judgments on someone, taking the best from someone. Okay. So if we're being consulted by someone and sought after for advice, we should also give our best and give our best suggestions and advice and nasiha. If we do not have enough knowledge or are unable to provide the proper advice, then we also have to be candid, right, and lead them to someone or some source which has the proper knowledge. Okay, and thus in this case, it's preferable that we exercise silence. فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا أَوْ لِيَصْمُتْ. Beautiful, profound advice by the Prophet ﷺ. And also, going forward, we should also practice mu'asa. This is to say things of encouragement, to encourage those who are in low spirits or they may be sick. So, for example, when we see someone sad because of some misfortune or depressed or in a bad frame of mind, we should say things which can make them feel better. Say things, be positive. Encourage them to the good. Specifically remind them of having patience in facing their calamity, encourage them to be positive and strong. Okay. If we find ourselves in the middle of a dispute between two people, such as between relatives, or between friends, we should not take sides. We should always try to assist them in reconciling their differences and ending the dispute. In these circumstances, when giving nasiha, we should also ensure that we maintain confidentiality to minimize other problems from occurring. Okay, so this is the haqq on us when we're applying this hadith, because now we're gaining more knowledge from these beautiful hadith, and we also have a higher maqam in terms of applying these hadith and also doing it in the best way, inshaAllah ta'ala. So keeping silent, restraining the tongue. Okay, so it is essential that we restrain the tongue from the major evils before focusing on the smaller evils and ills. Again, priorities, priorities. Okay. We at all costs have to refrain and prevent ourselves from saying anything which is false or untrue, such as a lie. Okay, this is a major sin. Similarly, we must also verify any news that comes to us before disseminating it or adopting it as true. This also prevents us from spreading lies and rumors. I mean, so many things we see in social media and it's WhatsApp as well. We have to verify it as true and such. Okay, this is again nasiha to me as well, because it's very easy for us to tweet something which actually ends up being false, and then you basically are spreading something which, in a sense, maybe even a namima, ma'adallah, a major sin. Additionally, it is also essential for us to, of course, refrain from the major sins of the tongues, which is backbiting and slandering, which we just mentioned. It is also a sin to engage in sarcasm and making fun of others. Okay, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Surah Hujurat, لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى يكونوا خيرا منهم ولا نساء من نساء عسى يكن خيرا منهن. So do not make sarcasm. Do not call others by bad names. Both commandment to women and men and women in Surah Hujurat. Okay, this is a sin and is unfortunately a common social ill also of today. Furthermore, tashakki or complaining also is something we should try to avoid. Okay, and this is to complain on the simple matters. It basically is an act of impatience, and this also affects our attitude and actions negatively. So, should we wish to complain, we should only direct it towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. As in the father of Yusuf alayhi salam, Ya'qub, he directed his lament to Allah alone, despite the fact that he lost his son, or he perceived the perception of losing his son for so many years. Okay. So such an act is known as munajah, which is a form of ibadah. So doing that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a nice way, to be patient, this is actually becomes an ibadah instead of complaining to others about what's going on, what happens. So complaining to others besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is tashakki, which actually cancels out our ibadah from munajah and sabr with respect to this hadith. And in restraining the tongue, sabr can also be defined as, number one, to refrain oneself from panicking or being out of control. And two, to refrain from one's tongue from complaining or tashakki. So thus we should learn from this hadith and minimize any type of tashakki or lack of sabr, which again can just cancel out good deeds. Also, we should avoid non-beneficial talk to the best of our capacity. فَلْيَكُنْ خَيْرًا أَوْ لِيَصْمُتْ. So people can talk and chat for hours on end, and a lot of that which is said has no value. Often in conversation there can be backbiting going on and talking about others as well in a negative context, which is really backbiting. Backbiting is defined as saying something which is true about another person, which is negative about them, or other person may perceive as negative about them. So why engage in a major sin? And slander is saying something evil about another person, which is incorrect. So both are major sins. They cancel out our good deeds, and we do not want to be the person who is bankrupt on the day of judgment with no good deeds left because of these foolish actions which from their tongue. So furthermore, in hadith number 29, the Prophet ﷺ gave Mu'adh bin Jabal radiallahu anh a very important piece of advice in his question about the thing that will take him to paradise and keep him away from hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ says, ألا أخبرك بملاك ذلك كله؟ فقلت بلى يا رسول الله فأخذ بلساني فقال, then he took his tongue. كف عليك هذا. قلت يا نبي الله وإنا لمؤاخذون بما نتكلم به. The Prophet ﷺ said, فقال ثقلتك أمك. وهل يكب الناس على وجوههم أو قال على مناخرهم إلا حصائد ألسنتهم. Beautiful hadith which we have not yet reached, where the Prophet ﷺ said, and shall I not tell you of the controlling of all of that? He said, Bala ya Rasulullah. So he took out his tongue and said, فَأَخَذَ بِلِسَانِ, restrain this, كُفُّ عَلَيْكَ هَذَا. And then he said, O Messenger or Prophet of Allah, indeed, will we be held accountable for what we say? Then Prophet ﷺ said, this is an expression in Arabic, may your mother be bereft of you. Is there anything which topples the people on their faces, or he said on their noses in the hellfire, other than the hasaidu al-sinatihim, than the jest of their tongue? This is the authentic hadith. And the point is how important it is to protect our tongue. So at times we may encounter a situation which involves a fitna or a trial. And in these circumstances, we have to be even more careful about what we say, because people can easily panic. They can get hopeless. They can start believing things which are not true. And people who are evil can take advantage of the situation and say things which can worsen it. And this is why we have to take the higher road and be careful of what we say. And rather, we should instead use words which are positive and hopeful to uplift the spirit of those facing the tribulation or problem. Mu'asa, again. Be positive. Okay, we cannot be negative, and have sabr. As in the sabr of Musa alayhi salam, when Fir'aun was narrowing down, the whole army of Fir'aun was narrowing down, and then the people were getting desperate, the people of Bani Israel, and Musa says, Kalla, no, my Lord will guide me. To the end where Musa then took his staff and the sea split open. So we have to have that sabr, like Musa alayhi salam, and not say things which are negative and may even be heretical. They may lose hope, saying why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did this or that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never place anyone in dhulm. We have to have yaqeen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and doubt His qadr. So with guarding the tongue, all the actions of the limbs are also included, because the tongue is often the hardest to guard. That is why the Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic hadith, he said, مَنْ يَضْمَنْ لِي مَا بَيْنَ لَحْيَيْهِ وَمَا بَيْنَ رِجْلَيْهِ أَضْمَنْ لَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. The one who guarantees me that which is between his jaws and also that which is between his thighs, I will guarantee him paradise. And this is muttafaqan alayh. Beautiful, profound, and famous hadith we should all be familiar with. Okay. And trending to the next part of this hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ says, وَمَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلْيُكْرِمْ جَارَهُ. And let him who believes in Allah in the last day honor his neighbor, or be noble to his neighbor. So here, now we are trending to courtesy to the neighbor, mannerisms to others. Ikram, falyukrim, right? Ikram is the verbal noun of the neighbor, means to behave with him, having the characteristic of generosity. Karam is to combine the praiseworthy characteristics which are good with, for example, generosity. So it is said that the one who combines these praiseworthy characteristics is Kareem. In the Arabic language, this is to describe one who has superseded his peers in characteristics of perfection. So to have ikram of the neighbor is to expend effort, to make a great effort in terms of displaying characteristics to honor the neighbor. Okay, to have the best akhlaq in terms of the neighbor. This is فَلْيُكْرِمْ جَارَهُ. This is also echoed in Surah Nisa, ayah 36, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
واعبدوا الله ولا تشركوا به شيئا وبالوالدين إحسانا وبذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين والجار ذي القربى والجار الجنب والصاحب بالجنب وابن السبيل وما ملكت أيمانكم إن الله لا يحب من كان مختالا فخورا.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and do good to parents, relatives, orphans, the poor, the neighbor. The neighbor who is near of kin. وَالْجَارِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى, and the neighbor who is a stranger. وَالْجَارِ الْجُنُبِ, and the companion by your side, the wayfarer you meet, the traveler, and those slaves whom your right hand possesses. So all these we have to do good. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, to ihsan. Ihsan is the best in terms of character, akhlaq. Just like the parents also transmit the akhlaq and the ihsan to these people, such as the relatives, the neighbor, the orphans, the poor. SubhanAllah, look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to do good to all these categories of people who, unfortunately, in society, many times, like for example, the orphans, the poor, they're not regarded with the proper etiquette and the proper warmth that they deserve. In a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, مَا زَالَ يُوصِينِي جِبْرِيلُ بِالْجَارِ حَتَّى ظَنَنْتُ أَنَّهُ سَيُوَرِّثُهُ. Jibreel alayhi salam kept advising me concerning the neighbor to the point that I thought that he would inherit from his neighbor. And this is narrated by Aisha anha in Sahih al-Bukhari. Another hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, Wallahi la yu'minu, Wallahi la yu'minu, Wallahi la yu'minu. Qila, Waman ya Rasulullah. So some said, by Allah he does not believe, by Allah he does not believe, by Allah he does not believe. Then it was said, who is that, O Messenger of Allah? He said, Alladhi la ya'manu jaruhu bawayiqah. He said, that person whose neighbor does not feel safe from his evil. Okay, and this is narrated by Abu Shurayh in Al-Bukhari. So subhanAllah, look how important it is to make sure that even the neighbor, you have to make sure that they feel comfortable around you. Okay, and yet in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا طَبَخْتَ مَرَقَةً فَأَكْثِرْ مَاءَهَا وَتَعَاهَدْ جِيرَانَكَ. When you make soup, make a good amount by adding plenty of water and give some to your neighbor. SubhanAllah, look, share the wealth. And this is narrated by Abu Dharr in Sahih Muslim. Thus, sharing of food between neighbors strengthens the relationship between them as well, and we should be nice to our neighbors and share our food with them even if they are not Muslim. This is why the Prophet ﷺ, when given some meat, he would order it to be also sent to his Jewish neighbor. Subhanallah. And furthermore, we need to also be patient with our neighbor even if he annoys us. We see in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ that he behaved the best to his neighbors even though he was often treated wickedly by them. Okay. So part of the nobility to the neighbor is to be noble to him. فَلْيُكْرِمْ جَارَهُ, and using good words also, to guard him also, his family, to guard his honor, and also all general rights that belong to neighbors, such as, for example, in our context, making sure the car is parked properly, not blocking the driveway, or making sure that the appearance of our lawn is okay and tidy, not disturbing them, making sure we clean the leaves and keep our appearance also tidy, not to annoy our neighbor. These are just general akhlaq to those around you, the immediate neighbor, because they have a haqq on us. And alhamdulillah, this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also forces us to do the best in terms of da'wah, in terms of deen and akhlaq to others as well. Okay, فَلْيُكْرِمْ جَارَهُ. And then now we transition to the last part of the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says, وَمَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلْيُكْرِمْ ضَيْفَهُ. And let him who believes in Allah and the last day also be noble to his guest. Okay. So the guest mentioned in the last part of the hadith is generally interpreted as a traveling visitor who has come to stay for a short while, a day or two. So likewise, to have ikram, فَلْيُكْرِمْ ضَيْفَ, of the guests is to expend effort to display generosity, akhlaq, and treat them with honor and honor them, honor the guests basically. Okay, this is what Rasulullah has commanded us or greatly encouraged us to basically honor the guest. فَلْيُكْرِمْ ضَيْفَ. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, "Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir, falyukrim ضيفه. جائزته يوم أو ليلة وضيافته ثلاثة أيام فما بعد ذلك فهو صدقة ولا يحل له أن يتوي عنده حتى يحرجه." So whoever believes in Allah in the last day should be generous to his guest. His special gift to the guest is 1 day and 1 night. He is to be entertained for 3 days. Whatever is beyond that is an act of sadaqah. So it is not lawful for a guest to stay with his host to the extent that he makes things difficult for him. So regarding, for example, the ruling from this hadith is that the majority of scholars are of the opinion that hosting a guest is actually not fard. However, it is a great and noble act and we should do it. We need to do it just to enhance promoting the essence and the akhlaq of Islam. So it is considered mustahab or a recommended act. And according to many scholars, however, the recommended act of hosting does not extend to people who are evil or heretics. So we also have to be careful as well, because if there's a potential harm for the host or the family, then we do not host them. However, some contemporary scholars are of the viewpoint that we should even host those who are sinners, because this is allowing them to be influenced by us, to give them da'wah, for example. So hosting a sinner where we're not going to be influenced by them and it would not be harmful for them to stay. This is something which we tolerate a minor harm in order to give them or attain a major benefit, which is da'wah nasiha. But nonetheless, we should still be very cautious when hosting people who are sinners and those who do not have taqwa, and we should also do so if we know that no harm will be inflicted upon us or our household. So these are the fiqh matters regarding hosting our guests, but we should again definitely need to do that in terms of the family, those who are close by, and people who are righteous, like as scholars, for example, who are visiting. It's a great thing indeed. Acts this hadith highly recommends doing that and also honoring them as well. So, highlights from this hadith. This hadith teaches us the proper manners with regards to speech and also honoring our neighbors and guests. Speech is a common cause of discord and division in our society and also at the individual level. And again, the Prophet ﷺ summarizes a great and important principle in just a few words. بُعِثْتُ بِجَوَامِعِ الْكَلِمِ. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ, he has the comprehensive speech, and we see this again and again in these beautiful hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The second part of the hadith emphasizes the best of mannerisms to our guests and also our neighbors. So compared to hadith number 14, good treatment is obliged now on a greater group, which can include those who are not Muslim. Okay. So following these sacred advices leads to again elevation of the society in terms of the mannerisms and etiquette, and also exemplifies and shows people the uniqueness of Islamic values to others. Again, on an individual level, people see the greatness of Islam. Okay. Again, macroscopically and microscopically, we see how things are coming together in these ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So these behaviors which are encouraged by this hadith are actually very important in contemporary society, where there's unfortunately widespread deterioration of values and mannerisms within the Muslim world. So altogether, this advice of the Prophet ﷺ given to us leads to a more peaceful and harmonious Islamic society in this life, while at the same time attaining the pleasure of Allah in the hereafter. May Allah allow us to implement what we have heard and seen in this hadith. And these are some questions here regarding the hadith that we have talked about. Please try to do them, inshallah. It will be beneficial and a nice rehash of principles which were delineated here in this discussion. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik wa nashhadu wa la ilaha illa ant wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.